Welcome to Inside Independence, a program that that shares information about events and people and things that are happening in Independence and Township and Clarkston, Michigan. And I'm your host, Joette Kuntz. And today, I'm honored to have three members of the Sashabaw Plains Chapter, a National Society of the American Revolution, Daughters of the American Revolution, I'm sorry. And we have Jennifer Harris, Charlotte Cooper, and Lois Keel. And we're going to learn about the Daughters of the American Revolution. We're going to learn about their project at Lakeview Cemetery, and we're going to learn about a walk that's coming up on October 8th. So we're very pleased to have you as our guests. And so Charlotte, tell us about the DAR. What is the DAR? We use the initials, and so sometimes people don't know.
The DAR stands for Daughters of the American Revolution. And it's the largest women's organization in the world. It is a lineage society. To become a member, a person needs to be born female, 18 years of age, and have a direct line to an American patriot, someone who helped with the independence of our country, and as a soldier, as a gatekeeper, as a juror, selling cattle to the soldiers.
Army
yeah, Army. There's multiple.
So if you wanted to join the DAR, you know, people sometimes have stories that great-great-grandpa, whoever, was in the Revolutionary War. What would a person do?
The first thing is contact the national website for NSDAR, and they would hook you up with a chapter near you. Or if you know someone who is a DAR member, you can contact them, and they will put you in contact with a registrar, who will then work with you to secure your paperwork. I believe I had to go back 8 generations. I had to supply my birth certificate, my parents' birth certificates, death certificates, and those of my grandparents. And the rest, you probably just get off of the internet.
Okay, there's a lot of lineage, but you do have to prove back to your relative. But it's sort of like genealogy. I mean, it's like genealogy.
It is. Yeah. Joette, it is definitely genealogy. And if you don't like the research, we have people who can help you.
And the registrar is a big help.
Yes. Yeah. And I think there's a contact information in the Clarkston News and with an email. So if you're interested in the DAR, please look it up in the Clarkston News, and it's there. So Jen, you were regent or the president of the chapter a couple of years ago, and you had a project. You want to tell us about that project?
Absolutely. We began the Lakeview Cemetery Restoration Project in 2020. So several of our chapter members, ladies sitting here even, approached me and said, hey, let's go take a look at the cemetery. And as we did, we went and walked through, and especially in the historical section, because we do have grave markers there beginning in the 1830s. About the same time that the community was founded. And a lot of those were dirty, broken. They were, toppled over. Also, some of the landscaping was overgrown and it was hard to see. And so there was a lot of damage and erosion. And a lot of this is it's something that happens over time.
They're 200-year-old.
Exactly.
Almost
200-year-old, absolutely. So we decided in 2020 to get started with the project, and it was also something that was really great to do during the pandemic. It was a way to get people involved and to stay connected, but we could do something outside. So it was really a wonderful thing to involve the entire community. So the cemetery itself was founded in 1850, but the first burial was in 1832. The cemetery itself was the 3 acres was donated by Joseph Van Sickle, and he provided the 3 acres at the top of the hill. It's generally not good farmland. So those are areas where the cemetery ends up being founded. Basically, we decided it was a great thing to do to give back to our community. I know, like as Charlotte mentioned, with proving our lineage to a patriot, you go back so many generations. And I know most of my family is not actually from Clarkston, they're from Ohio. And so, you know, am I gonna travel 7 hours to spend lots of time and money to restore all these things? Because I don't even know where all of my ancestors are buried. So it's something really wonderful that we can do for our own community to give back. And it's something that as people travel to do their own research and learn more, it's a really nice thing to have for others and for the community itself, and to preserve some of our oldest historical artifacts and monuments that are actually here in the community, because not a lot of things have survived from the 1830s.
Correct. And the cemetery is kind of a museum of people.
Yes,
absolutely.
And there's very interesting people there. They're earliest settlers that came here, and so Charlotte, tell us about some of the people that are there, especially the Revolutionary War soldiers, because it's so interesting. There's not a lot of them, but
Joette, we are very lucky that we have 3 Revolutionary soldiers buried in the Clarkston area, and they moved with their children and their grandchildren because they were old men when they came. And
yeah, because you would be, if you were born, you had to be kind of born in 1750 to be a soldier.
Correct.
To be, or maybe between 1750 and 1760. So if you say 50, you're like 80 years old.
Oh, you're 70?
You're
Yes.
70 or 80 years old, but as when Clarkston was formed.
exactly. Jeremiah Clark came with his wife and some children, and he was, and Clarkston is named for him and his brother. So Clarkston. He is buried in the old part, and his wife and 3 daughters, I believe, are in our cemetery, out of the 14 children that they had. Caleb Barton Merrill and his wife are buried in the cemetery. He had a son and a daughter, and the daughter is buried across, not far from, well, both the son and the daughter are buried near him with their spouses and their children. The third one is not in Lakeview Cemetery, but his name was Jacob Petty, and he is buried in the Sashabaw Plains Cemetery located on Mabee Road.
Yeah. So it's so that it's valuable to have these 3 men who actually fought in the American Revolution, you know, in our community and their families. And there's lots of Clarks there, but
Yes, there are.
and Jeremiah Clark has a very sort of short obelisk, but you know, he was an important man in our community. So the DAR has 3 goals, or focuses on 3 things. One of them is historic preservation, one of them is education, and one of them is patriotism. Am I correct?
Correct.
Yes.
So that working in the cemetery is that historic preservation goal. But doing programs like this and some of the other things that we're going to talk about with the schools, that's the education piece. And the patriotism is just knowing that we have these people that we have these people buried in our community. So I found a couple of interesting facts. We have 52 Union veterans buried in the cemetery, Lakeview Cemetery, which I think is a lot. We have about 1,100 veterans buried in the cemetery, in Lakeview Cemetery. And I love this one. This was a special on grave sites that we found an advertisement that you could buy 6 graves for $5 in 1850. So, you know, run out and buy those. So kind of, Jen, tell us a little more about how the DAR worked with the community and to restore that historic part of the cemetery.
Absolutely. So this historic preservation project, it was clearly way larger than just our chapter. And so we decided we really needed to get the community involved, because the more you looked, and also once we started working with Dave Carter's restoration company, and we got quotes and estimates for how much it would cost to begin repairing these stones, you realize there's a lot of money involved. So once we met with the township and showed them the condition of the cemetery and said, here's our proposal, here's what we'd like to do. The first thing the township did, which was amazing, said if we would raise $25,000, they would match dollar for dollar what we raised. So for a total of $50,000 worth of work done to Lakeview Cemetery. As we began collecting the information, each individual grave marker could cost anywhere from $75 to $350, and the obelisks could cost up to $500 to repair, clean, level, and restore. And so in addition to having the professional repair them, you start having individual spots where there's a beautiful grave marker and there's maybe some dirty ones next to it. So there were some other things that we could do in addition to raising the funds, was we could actually get out there and clean the stones themselves. And that also involved a lot of community members. We would meet monthly and do that and clean. So we involved local churches, the Masonic Lodge, the Genealogy Society, the Student Interact Club. We had so many students in the schools get involved, just local community members who saw what we were doing and wanted to get involved and learn more and just give back to the community. So,
And the DAR members themselves.
Yes, absolutely. So let's just say the Sashabaw Plains Chapter, we were organizing and coordinating the project, but individual members gave money, gave time, and also we created a cemetery walk to raise funds. We had created a GoFundMe page, and there's so many groups. I've probably forgotten a couple of groups. So if there's others, please
Well, there's
mention them.
I think the Rotary and the Clarkston Historical Society, the Masonic Lodge. There's a lot of people out there buried that were Masons. Masons were very big here in Clarkston. The PEO, which is an educational organization, gave money. Students, I remember seeing a picture of you and the student president of the Rotary Interact.
They did a can drive and raised over $300 for us.
I mean, those were high school students.
Yes.
And the Rotary's been very, very supportive. But there were, and then there was the Eagle Scout, James Lazar, that was there, and he's probably in college now, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
But families came out, individuals came out, people gave money. So, and I understand you cleaned 600 graves, stones.
Yes.
I mean, almost every one of those that were.
When you come into the cemetery at Lakeview and you drive in, almost everything from that circle straight ahead to the left has been touched in some way by the community, whether it's from the restoration itself or just being cleaned. And so, because that section is from that circle and to the left, all of that area, most of those graves are from the late 1800s and earlier. So they're all at least 100 years old, some of them 130 to almost 200.
Yeah, you'll see you can see as you look at the gravestones that people were born in 1795 and maybe died in 1850 or something like that. The Clarkston High School Honor Society have been very good workers in that cleaning.
Yes, they have.
And so has the junior high. Cheryl, you want to talk a little bit about the Clarkston Junior High and Alex Sashabaw and the students in the 8th grade American history classes?
Mr. Sashabaw brought his classes out to the cemetery and they cleaned stones. And he assigned the students in pairs to do research about certain people. And they did that, and then they created QR codes.
And they put them on the stakes.
They
And
put them on stakes. And when you have your phone, you put your phone up, and there's that square code that would be on here.
QR code.
And then that links it to your phone, and you can listen. Oh, you can see the pictures on your phone and hear the student tell about that particular person who occupies that gravesite. Now, Mr. Cinnamon was submitted for an American History Teacher Award and through DAR, and he was the state winner. Our chapter sponsored him. Would you like for me to tell you about some other awards?
well, yes. Tell us about that's what the cemetery project. I assume we're talking about.
Well, we have so many awards, Joette. It's just hard to keep up with. Let's go to National DAR. Joette, you were very kind and submitted paperwork for a contest, and our chapter for this cemetery restoration project won at the state level, at the divisional level, at the national level, and we took a first place national award. I hope you have a picture of that you can put on.
Well, we do, and it's a story with many DAR chapters doing cemetery work all over the United States. I'm sure that I've seen pictures of them doing. I think ours might have been just a little more unique because we had that educational component.
We have the educational component.
And we had, there's a little bit of patriotism in there too, so I think that might have been. But there was you were just up in Roscommon last week, the two of you, Jen and Charlotte. And
yes.
Yeah.
The Historical Society of Michigan, we won an education award for the Lakeview Cemetery project as well. So that was a state award that it was really an honor to receive that.
That's wonderful. So, so that kind of brings us to the Lakeview Cemetery Walk, which is October 8th at 1 o'clock at the cemetery, which is 6150 White Lake Road, just across from Deer Lake Athletic Club. So Lois, tell us what a cemetery walk is, because that's a question people ask.
Would you love to have a ghost tell you all about their life? That's really what it amounts to. We will have on this particular walk 6 different people telling about the towns or the roads here in Michigan that are in Clarkston area that are named for the individuals there. Now, I portray a woman who was not happening to be the person that it's named after. I married the man who it's named after. He was a local farmer, and so I will be telling both my story as a 95-year-old ghost, and also I will tell about how a woman could manage to be married at 20, live for 24 years with a man, then manage on her own, supporting her daughter, Luella, and go on from there to marry yet again, in this case, Reese, as in Reese Road. He had been a farmer, and I'm his 3rd wife. So you find out a little bit about social events and how they were handled back then. So it's roughly every other generation she had something happening. I will also manage to have a wee bit of a burr because, you see, my particular person, Christena, came from Scotland at age 8, and she has quite the eventful trip over here. And while she came from Scotland, Mr. Reese came from Wales. So there's a lot to tell about their lives.
And they came to Clarkston. He was quite well-to-do. She married well, right?
Oh, definitely. Not bad for a nurse.
Yes. So, well, Jen. So as we're talking about this cemetery walk, it's a guided tour.
Yes.
So there will be guides who take you to these 6 ghosts or people of the cemetery, and So what is the cost, and how the timing, and how long is the real tour?
Sure. So the tour itself will run approximately 90 minutes. The tour is from 1 to 4. You can show up at any time. The last tour probably leaves about 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
About 3:30. And what happens is you with your group will be given a guide, and you will be escorted through the cemetery to each of these 6 stations to get a chance to meet these people and learn a little bit about the community. The cost is $15. It is a donation to the Sashabaw Plains Chapter. That helps us to do the work that we're doing. It helps us to continue to support the cemetery and to support other programs and awards that we give throughout the community.
So, and you can buy those tickets at the Gateway, which is, the Gateway is a store at 7150 North Main, or you can buy them online at Eventbrite. So there's 2 ways to get the tickets.
Or at the actual
Yes,
cemetery.
you can get them at, that's true. You can buy them on the day of the walk at the cemetery. Thank you. I'm reminded of this quote, and I do not know whether Ben Franklin said this, but it's shown everywhere, and it says, "Show me your cemeteries and I will tell you what kind of people you have." And I think he's referring to the community. So the work that the Sashabaw Plains Chapter and the community and all the organizations that would say that we have great respect for our cemeteries. So we have great respect for the people in the community too. So I want to thank you for sharing your information about the DAR. So if anybody's interested in DAR, they go to
DAR.org.
Yeah, DAR, well, Sashabaw Plains.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
They're on Facebook, I think. But DAR.org is where the national, and you can get information about joining there. And there is an email for the chapter, which is in the Clarkston News.
And I think you can talk with people as you're right there at the ticket section too.
True,
They'll
true,
be glad
yes.
to start you.
Yes.
And you have a little more information about Lakeview Cemetery, and there is a Facebook page for Lakeview Cemetery Restoration Project on Facebook. And then you want them to come out to the cemetery walk.
Absolutely. Come join us and have
see
some
that.
fun and see the work that we've done, and have a little bit of fun.
Well, thank you so
We
much.
ghosts can be fun. You know.
Exactly.
Well, it's a museum of people,
Yes.
and you're just one of the people who live at Lakeview Cemetery.
Yes, it's
Christena
a city
Reese.
of the dead.
You are an occupant.
I am. This is the 3rd time I've been an occupant.
Yes. Well, we thank you for your acting skills. So that's wonderful. So thank you. Remember to watch us in October on Inside Independence, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.